right. It is 7 o'clock, and I'm calling to order the Select Board meeting for August 7th. And if you'll all bear with me, we are a little light tonight. Various life experiences, and have happened for both Steve and Alice, and I'm going to call Alice in. She's going to join us remotely. So here she is on the speakerphone in 1 second. We're very high tech.
Hello.
All right, Alice, you're joining us.
Excellent.
Okay. And now we're official. We'll start with the consent agenda. Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Thank you. This meeting is being recorded, and we have someone on the box as well. So let's get to the town accountant's warrants, which we have looked through. And we are grateful to be accepting gifts from the Concord Carlisle Community Chest of $12,000 for the Recreation Fund gift account, the Concord Carlisle Community Chest of $8,524.50 to the Council on Aging gift account. Concord Carlisle Youth Baseball and Softball has made a gift of $7,700 to the Concord Public Works gift account. And Alpine Property Management has made a gift of $2,280 to Concord Public Works gift tree removal. We also have a number of special licenses, one for Allison Cross on the 15th of September from 5 to 9 p.m. at 11 Wheeler Road for wine and malt beverages. Charles River Wheeler Bike Club on the 27th of August from 5 to 8 p.m., also at 11 Wheeler Road, wine and malt beverages. And finally, Veronica Lukensky on the 22nd of September from 5 to 9 p.m., also at 11 Wheeler Road, wine and malt beverages.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And Sir Town Manager, are you ready to give us your...
I am. Thank you, Madam
Your
Chair. We've made an offer to a young woman to serve as the town's next public information officer. Erin Stevens has 3 years service in that field and is available to start on September 5th. So we've been without public information officer since February, so it's been a while. And we're looking forward to having her join us. She has extensive experience in website management, social media, and has excellent writing skills.
Great.
The fire chief's retirement has been announced. His last day in the office will be Thursday, August 31st. He's been appointed as fire chief in Ryan, New Hampshire, so we wish him well. Assistant Chief Tom Judge has agreed to serve as interim chief. We've advertised the position vacancy already, and applications are due September 14th, so we hope to move expeditiously to fill Mark Coutreau's seat. Chief O'Connor is carefully monitoring conditions with the Ford Interceptor police cruisers. All of our marked cars are Ford Interceptors. We haven't had a problem, and many of our area communities that use the same vendor have not had a problem, but we have carbon monoxide detectors in the cars, and the chief is keeping a close eye on
that. Arose as a result of another police department having problems, and I guess an accident occurred.
Yes. So a community in Texas discontinued use of 200 units, and Auburn, Mass. had a similar problem. So it's a real thing that's happening, and they think they have an idea of what's causing the problem. Construction has begun in earnest at Rideout Playground. There's a large pile of soil that was removed as a result, is being excavated for the parking area, and that had originally been planned to be trucked off-site, but to save $100,000 on the project costs, we're going to reuse that soil on-site and create berms around the walking trail that's there. So it will be reused and create a little grade change and some nice planting areas.
Great.
visible from the street. The school bus repair facility was issued a certificate of occupancy last week. Staff has begun moving in, and it should be fully operational in time for the start of school. We may want to think about having an open house or something like that to welcome the public
I think that'd be a
heard
great
the
idea,
conversation for
especially
an extended
since we
period of
have
time.
the solar fields
And
right there.
and the solar panels are right next door, so perhaps in September we'll look to schedule an open house for both of those facilities. Finance Committee had an orientation for all members. 8 of the 15 attended, including the newest members. And they've issued the Finance Committee's guidelines subcommittee has issued its notice to the superintendent and town manager to begin preparing for the budget. So we're off and starting on the new budget. Planning Board is meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, August 8th, and among their other matters they'll be discussing is Article 51 and the town's energy future and how the Planning Board can participate in reducing the carbon footprint of new projects, subdivisions, and that sort of thing. And also they'll be looking at what bylaws they might want to consider amending for town meeting in April. And finally, I've asked Marcia Rasmussen and Rich Rain to prepare a list of CPA projects. This is a time of year when you begin to take a look at the projects that town staff have in mind and think of priorities. And so we'll do that at your first meeting in September, before the end of September, when CPA projects are proposals are due.
Who would be responsible for getting the Junction Village on that agenda?
Marcia.
Okay. And was there a meeting last week to move forward some of our other priorities? I think Kate, the assistant town manager, oversaw it.
I'm sorry, say that again? My virus just took over my computer, so it's shutting itself down.
I'm thinking about the initial meeting that was held to discuss the potential for solar at the Beatty Center.
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah, and that went well. There's interest. I was at the light plant this morning, and they said they're interested in pursuing that. But the circuit on which the Beatty Center and the landfill and the high school are located is nearly maxed out, and there's concern about overloading that circuit and having too much power generated by the solar components at a time when there's not a high power demand. So they think they can do it for Beatty. They're taking a careful look at it, but the circuit is nearly overloaded as far as solar generation is concerned.
And Alice, maybe you can give us some details on that meeting later on during the liaison.
And can I ask a question? And is there do you have an update on the, I've forgotten the title, but the sustainability director? Or
Applications are due for the sustainability director are due August 10th. So later this week, I've already started to look at some of them. We've had a good response. I think we got 65 through last week. So it's been a good response. Some very qualified people have submitted applications.
have you put together a screening committee?
I have not yet. We've had some preliminary discussions, but I don't have. We'll probably have 2 panels, somebody to do first interviews and somebody to
Right.
do second interviews at different groups.
It's great.
Thank you.
And now, Chris, you sent us a copy of a proclamation from Waltham, the mayor, complimenting the police officers who assisted when they had the major fire.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was that's what we should be doing, and I'm glad they appreciated it. So.
Yep, that was a nice gesture from the mayor.
Thank you. All right. Well, it is time to get into several, let's see now, about 6 public hearings that we're going to open. So we might as well move through them. All right.
I move to open the public hearing for the full petition of Comcast, Massachusetts, 348 Monument Square.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please come join us and state your name. For the record, I apologize if I'm sitting. Everybody will have your back, but hopefully they'll be able to hear you.
It's a great room, actually. Gregory Franks on behalf of Comcast. I'm here in support of our petition to attach aerial cable to certain
I
poles.
think you need to speak up just
I'm
a
sorry.
little bit. There we go.
To attach aerial cable to certain poles along Lowell Road to serve a new customer right here on Monument Square, 48 Monument Square. My understanding is we've already had a site visit with the light department. I've had a look at the proposed order, and Comcast will fully comply with all of the conditions therein if you approve our petition.
Any questions?
No,
Everything,
conditions are all met.
Okay. Questions from the public?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Great.
so,
You ready for a vote?
ready for a vote?
I move to grant permission to install overhead coaxial cables to be owned by Comcast of Massachusetts 3, Inc. as requested in the petition plan marked aerial cable placement request, 48 Monument Square, Concord, Mass., received June 26, 2017, and is noted in the order dated August 7, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
so much.
Thank you very much.
One down. And we are looking at the next public hearing. Do I hear?
Sure, you do. I move to open the public hearing for the Concord Municipal Light Plant, Verizon, 51 Lawsbrook Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, fellas.
I'm Jeff Cosgrove, the electrical engineer for the Concord Light Department. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Oh, sure. Just a little.
Ryan Kane, Director of Recreation.
Okay.
As part of this, you guys are well aware, the ride-out reconstruction project is currently underway, and part of this project, with a very kind of a tight window along Losbrook Road due to existing utilities, the entrance and exit is currently proposed where existing Pole 5 Losbrook Road is currently located. Extensive, the Recreation Department met with a number of the public and all the utilities on site, and this was the best solution that was that met all the customer demands.
Existing is there, I would move to here. The existing is where the design for the driveway is exiting.
It's about 24 feet approximately. Yeah. So the pole span between pole 5 and the pole 6 will be about 150 feet, which is acceptable to our standards.
Okay. Well, that looks,
Any particular issues with this?
yeah.
No, we don't perceive any problems. Assuming the board is acceptable to this petition, we will move forward within the next couple of weeks to set the new pole.
While the construction's going on.
Yes,
Right,
correct.
exactly. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from the public?
I move to close the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye. Are you ready, Madam Chair, for vote?
I am,
I
please.
move to grant permission to relocate utility pole number 5, 24.2 feet east of its existing location, to be owned by Concord Municipal Light Plant and Verizon New England as requested in the petition plan marked number 17-0713 dated July 13, 2017, and is noted in the order dated August 7, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, fellas.
Okay.
Do we have a guest, or?
Not, I believe, for this one. I think that we're going to have a,
I move to open the public hearing for the gas main petition from National Grid at 136 Laurel Street. Hi.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome. Please state your name and
My name is
Address.
Barbara Kelleher. I'm the permits representative for National Grid. And on Laurel Street, the National Grid hereby respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 50 feet, more or less, of 2-inch gas main in Laurel Street in Concord, from the existing 2-inch gas main at house number 44 northeasterly to house number 136 to provide a gas service for 136 Laurel Street.
okay. And Alice, do you have any questions? Okay.
Get over that speed bump yet?
She was when I went up there, she was nervous. It was great. I didn't even hear about it.
Really?
Gremlins.
That's great. And I spoke to her, and I think she was
Okay. I think we'll just.
Bye, Alice.
Bye. Alice?
Is she French?
No. She's
Maybe we're not as high-tech as we thought we were.
Yes, not quite sure what we beamed in with, but let's see.
There's a disagreement about
Do you have any questions, Tom? And Mike, what about questions from you on the Laurel Street?
No, I know we're
gonna, yes.
going to move to continue this to September.
No, that's a different one.
It is?
Yes. Right? I believe that's,
Main
Oh,
Street.
this is Laurel Street. I'm
Laurel
sorry.
Street.
I
You
apologize.
jumped
No,
ahead one,
yeah,
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry. I just
I
missed-
know, whoops.
Surprise, surprise.
That's exactly. So this is Laurel Street, and I think this is Fairley
Yeah,
Street.
no, I just misread, sorry. So no
Straightforward.
questions?
Okay. Do I hear a?
Public?
Oh, excuse me. Public, anybody from the public have a question?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, so I move to approve the National Grid petition to install 50 feet of gas main on Laurel Street from house number 144 to house 136 for a new gas service in accordance with the plan dated June 28, 2017, filed with the Select Board and as noted in the order dated August 7, 2017.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, now we'll move to
Got it.
the,
So now it's the Main Street.
Main Street, which will
Okay,
be,
so I open the public hearing for the gas main petition, National Grid 734-858 Main Street.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Okay. And this,
The National Grid hereby respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 1,230 feet of more or less of 6-inch gas main in Main Street in Concord, from the existing 4-inch gas main at Concord Turnpike easterly to the intersection of Main Street at Old Road to 9 Acres Corner, all of which to replace and abandon the existing 4-inch gas main and the 2-inch gas main. That's
and I had understood that we were going to be continuing this, the main,
That's the request of Public Works Director. Yeah.
This is the first I heard of that, okay, so that's
Yep.
continuing.
Yes.
That's tabled.
that's tabled for tonight.
Correct.
So a question from the public, and then
Anybody?
we'll close the hearing.
Public?
And I move to close the public hearing.
No, I recommend you continue it
We're
till...
continuing.
Move to continue the public hearing to September 11th at 7:05 PM.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And now we'll move,
Got another.
yes.
This is also tabled to that date.
No, my understanding is some arrangements been worked out on Lexington Road. The gas company wanted to proceed with that. They've agreed to make the necessary payment, and the Public Works Department is satisfied that...
Has accepted that.
Has accepted that. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah.
Well, first, let's, I
open it.
move to open the public hearing on the gas main petition, National Grid 105-548 Lexington Road.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
The National Grid hereby respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 4,720 feet, more or less a 4-inch and 8-inch gas main in Lexington Road in Concord, from the existing 4-inch gas main near the intersection of Lexington Road and Haywood Street, easterly to house number 55, all of which to replace and abandon the 2-inch and 4-inch gas mains in Lexington Road.
Okay?
Okay.
And this you say is all right?
Public Works Director advises that the gas company has agreed to pay the appropriate fee, and he recommends approval contingent on satisfying the Public Works Department's requirements.
The existing line will remain.
They're going to abandon in place the 2-inch and the 4-inch line and install a new 8-inch line, and that's the issue at the other site.
But the fee will cover future
Right.
restoration? Okay. Any questions?
From the public?
Public?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So I move to approve the National Grid petition to install 4,720 feet of gas main on Lexington Road from house number 105 to house 548 for new gas service in accordance with the plan dated July 12, August 7th, 2017.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you on the 11th.
All right. Thank you. I've been reminded that we are being very expeditious, so we need to be mindful of our public hearing times, which means that we need to, our next public hearings are not until 7:30, so I think we'll need to probably go ahead to...
How about Hugh Cargill? See if we could do Hugh Cargill.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
maybe we
Paul's
can,
here.
Paul's here, so let's take on our discussion. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
And this, for those in the audience, this is a conversation that really addresses the continuing needs that we have in Concord to, alongside our interest in serving all of Concord. Many of our funds have gotten a little depleted, and we need to make sure that as we look at affordable housing and funding other forms of diverse homes in Concord, that we also keep in mind that along with that comes needs that exist today and needs that are probably going to grow into the future.
Thank you. It's a wonderful introduction. So my name is Paul LeVecchio. I've been a member of the Hugh Cargill Trust Committee for 5 years, presently the chair of that committee. And I'm here to ask for help with financial problems which are only expected to grow over time, as you indicated. And I'll discuss the reasons for my concern shortly. The Hugh Cargill Trust was established, as many of you know, over 200 years ago. It's been helping Concord citizens with financial needs ever since. Since 2013, the Hugh Cargill Trust Committee distributions to our needy clients have consistently exceeded $24,000 a year, increasing to approximately $30,000 last year. In contrast, from 2007 to 2012, distributions exceeded $24,000 only once. So we've seen, in general, an increase in distributions over the last 3 or so years. Despite the increasing financial needs of our clients, the town trustees have told us that transfers from the Hugh Cargill Trust to our committee must be sharply limited from an average of $17,000 per year given in 2015 and 2016 to $4,600 per year if the trust is to remain solvent for a long time. Similarly, the silent fund for which we are now responsible will see transfers from its fund cut from $20,000 per year to $7,000 per year for the same reason. Despite these cuts, we've been able to meet the needs of our clients through the gifts of generous donors and a joint mailing with the Tax Relief Committee last year, which we plan to repeat this year. However, we on the Hugh Cargill Trust Committee feel that the primary focus and energy that we have should be working directly with our clients and the social services that they need, and not really devoting much of our attention or any significant amount of our attention to fundraising. Because in many cases we're referring to social workers, other support groups to really meet the needs of our clients. For this reason, we believe that the joint mailings with the Tax Relief Committee, while meeting a near-term need, are not a good long-term solution for the future. We're very concerned, however, that this is only the beginning of a much larger financial problem in our town for the following reasons. Bonnie Wilbur, our town social worker for non-seniors, reports a more than twofold increase in requests for financial assistance this year. Number two, the population diversity that our town supports will most likely require increasing amounts of financial assistance. The Town of Concord 2015 Housing Production Plan clearly states a lot of data that this need is based upon and this projection of concern is based upon. For instance, About 15% of Concord households are cost-burdened, paying more than 30% of their income for housing. And I'll note that this was based upon a 2010 census that was used in a 2015 planning document. So 15% cost-burdened by paying more than 30% of the income for housing. And as far as the seniors go, more than half of them who are not living with families are also cost-burdened. And in the future, if you look at this report, the number of seniors in town will be a growing percentage of the population. So therefore, they're going to require even more support. For instance, on the tax relief that we are also distributing, about half of the people that we're supporting with tax relief right now are seniors. So they are certainly a demographic that needs continuing and will require improved support, increased support. Also, Concord more than quadrupled its affordable housing in the last decade from 177 units to 718 units. And those units are going to continue to climb in the future if we're to maintain 10% affordable housing stock as the number of households grow. So, in conclusion, we on the Hugh Cargill Trust Committee we feel that we're very fortunate to have a number of charitable organizations that are helping Concord citizens with financial needs. We also recognize the role that the town plays in providing targeted financial support, such as the recently passed tax relief for seniors and CMLP support. However, because of the reasons that I just went through, we members of the Hugh Cargill Trust Committee recommend that the Select Board form a task force which would include a member from each charitable organization, committee, and appropriate town department to plan for how the future financial needs of its citizens will be met. So we're recommending and asking that the Select Board consider forming and form a task force to look at these future needs. I noticed just in today's email that Elizabeth Hughes sent out a document stating that the town is to begin planning for the future. And so I'd recommend that this maybe be a part of that plan. It certainly
Part of
should
the
be involved
comprehensive
with it.
long-range planning
Comprehensive
effort.
long-range planning, right.
Yeah. And it's certainly one of, as the liaison to that effort, it's one of the areas that we are looking at very carefully.
And I'm the liaison to Hugh Cargill, and I was very much encouraging Paul to write to the Select Board and to be here with us tonight because Concord keeps talking about its goals of diversity, and I think we just underestimate the complexity of that issue.
Yes.
And the systemic needs we'll have if we're going to actually be successful. Affordable housing, we've created the committee. I think we're going to wind up appointing them or nominating them tonight. And affordable housing is certainly part of it, but that's not the entire solution.
No, it's not the entire solution. There are many demographics in the town that need support. Not only seniors, there's young families, there's a variety of people, and it's pretty clear as the town as it pursues its, I think, a very laudable goal of maintaining diversity, that there is a corollary to that which requires providing financial assistance when needed to this increasing number of people to maintain that.
And this has been compounded by the recent decision of the trustees of town donation. I disagree with their decision. I can perfectly understand it. Their concern was making sure we had a longer window on how long these funds would be available to us, so they've restricted the funds that will be available to us on any particular year. So I understand that. That just makes it acute.
That's
that
right.
We get to work on this problem, make sure it's incorporated in the long-range plan, but think about whether a task force could be able to help tee this up for the long-range planning committee and for other parts of town. So thanks for writing to us, and I hope we'll do this.
It does need to be part of a kind of strategic view, much as housing planning is and anything else.
And I think it's very timely. As you've alluded to, many of the needs are met by generous donors in town, but that's not a solution. That's a gift that we benefit from, but we can't make that a plan.
It could be a part of the solution, but it has to be an integrated
I think when
plan.
a town announces something as part of its goals, you need to think beyond the generosity of its citizens
That's right.
to making it more a systemic part of what the town does. So I know our fellow citizens have been generous and will continue to be generous. but I think the town needs to incorporate this into its plans.
I would encourage you to, if you have the time, to join us at one of the comprehensive long-range planning discussions. We have a meeting this, I believe, this Friday at 8 over.
Okay.
And that's
8
true
PM?
for anybody in town. It's a
PM?
public meeting. 8 a.m.
Oh, AM, okay.
We're an early morning group.
All right.
I would even wonder or encourage whether it might be helpful for Paul and the Hugh Cargill Trust to see if they could get on the agenda for the long-range plan, just to
Certainly
sort
we're
of
willing to
make the
support that.
pitch. And,
Right. Well,
Do you know of other communities, sort of, if they come up with creative ways that is worth looking into for Concord?
That's a good question. I have not looked into it. I think it's certainly worthwhile looking into it. I'd be surprised if some communities somewhere haven't been doing that. And it probably is the case that every community has a unique approach, but perhaps there's aspects of it that could be applied.
that's
to our
something a
case.
task force could, in
Right.
fact,
That's right.
dig in on and find out.
because I'm mindful of your statement that this is beyond the purview of the Hugh Cargill Trust's responsibilities, and I think
Yes.
that's fair. I think
Yeah.
that we should be taking this on directly.
Okay, appreciate that.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And I believe we are now caught up with our public hearing times,
Right.
and we should be looking at the change of directors for the Musketaquid.
I move to open the public hearing for change of directors from Scotticoke Sportsman's Club off Old Mill Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have, please come join us.
Evening. I'm John McGarry. I'm president of Musketaquid Sportsman's Club, and annually we change our directors.
It seems like it just happened, so I can't believe it's been a whole year.
Well, I know. So,
But thank you for your prompt attention to this.
yeah, we have to keep on top of it. So, we do have a new bunch of people that were elected to our board. Some people step down, others step up. So, we're seeking approval from the town for our new board.
Okay. Do you have a
We have a list
list here?
in the motion. Right, the list is in the motion, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's John McCary, Ralph Bibbo, Edward Holmes, Eileen Flannery, Alan Babosian, Seth Brooks as new officers, and Brian Heveron, manager. Is that correct?
Brian has not been appointed manager yet until we get approval for the new board. Then that gets forwarded to the ABCC.
Okay, and that's contingent upon,
So this is just change of directors tonight. We're not doing a manager of record.
It's
Okay.
just change of directors
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
we have any questions from the public?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
With your approval?
I think that we should
I
take a
move
vote.
to approve John McGarry, Ralph Bibbo, Howard Holmes, Eileen Flannery, Alan Bogosian, Seth Brooks as new officers of Musketaquid Sportsman's Club.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Let's see, are we close enough?
Close enough for government.
I think we're,
All right, I move to open the public hearing for transfer of all alcoholic beverage license holder, Inc., doing business as Vincenzo's Pasta, to CRG Fresh LLC, doing business as Aldelitas at 1200 Main Street.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Do we have, great.
John and Christie?
Welcome, and please state your name
Good evening.
and address.
My name is John Brady, an attorney at 37 Main Street, Concord, Mass.
Kristen Canty, 1266 Monument, Concord.
And we, as you know, are here to seek approval of the transfer of Holder Inc. DBA Vincenzo, all alcoholic license, to CRG Fresh, doing business as Adelita. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Also, we're seeking approval of change of manager to Kristen Canty, including Sunday, and approval of the CV license for 94 seats.
And for those of you who are not aware, this is Vincenzo's in West Concord, moving to a new. Can you give us any details on your plans?
Organic, fresh Mexican. So we have a lot of product from the farm that we haven't been able to use at our one restaurant, so it would be really great to be able to use it at a restaurant right next door, too. But we would change the menu to like a Latin influence or Mexican, which I think is much needed here in this area.
That sounds exciting.
Border food and moving into Mexico and South Central America.
Tacos, enchiladas. Tacos, enchiladas, ceviche. Yeah. So.
Well, we'll be sad to see Vincenzo's leave, but this, I know, will have many in my house excited. Any questions from the public?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, before I move, you're ready for a motion. We're just delighted that you're doing this. You've been very successful with your first restaurant. It was a big, boost to Concord's culinary scene, and it's great that you're going to continue this, and we'll have another fine restaurant in town. So it's great. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So I move to approve the transfer of the all-alcoholic beverage license from a Holder Inc. doing business at Vincenzo's Restaurant to CRG Fresh LLC doing business as Adelita, located at 1200 Main Street. The hours to sell alcoholic beverage would be Sunday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., contingent upon ABCC approval.
And do we also have a motion?
Do each one of them,
Okay.
I think.
All right.
Time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I move to approve Kristen Canty as manager of record for CRG Fresh LLC doing business as Adelita, located at 1200 Main Street. The manager must be engaged in the actual management of the licensed premises as her main occupation and must be present on the licensed premises for not less than 30 hours per week during the hours when alcoholic beverages are sold, contingent upon ABCC approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I move to approve Jason Dew, is it? That's what I said, as alternative manager of record for CRG Fresh LLC, doing business as El Delito, located at 1200 Main Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve the transfer of the common victuals license from Holder Inc., doing business as Vincenzo's Pasta, to CRG Fresh LLC, doing business as El Delito, located at 1200 Main Street. Seating will remain at 94 total seats.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Congratulations, it's great.
Welcome.
Do you anticipate when the BBC will be able to act? How soon the ABCC will be able to act?
Probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
Sort of opening end of September type?
I think he wants a seat.
Go there, right?
I know, we're not going to do much to it, so we just have to update. And
Right.
So hopefully 2 months after we get our license.
Great.
Exciting.
It's terrific.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And
Okay.
I believe we are
Ready to go?
ready to go.
So I move to open the public hearing for a change of manager, Camilla's at 33 Main Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
Good evening. I am JP Camella. We are here to nominate Ashley as our change of manager, Ashley Costello. Some experience in the company. She worked for us for how long before?
7 years.
7 years prior.
If you could just speak into the microphone, so.
7 years.
Okay.
7 years prior. Took a brief hiatus, went and had another career, and has since come back now. So.
Okay. And Ashley, have you been on the premises now? Are you there now?
Starting today, I'll be there full-time.
Okay.
40 hours a week.
40 hours a week. Okay, that's good to hear. And is there also are we going to look at an alternate manager at the same time?
Alternate manager will be me.
Will be you?
Yeah.
And, okay, so JP is John?
John, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I know this has taken a little while, and I'm glad to see everybody here with faces, and I understand there's also some concern about the passport that was provided.
Yeah, we have an updated birth certificate here.
Oh, good. That was
expired.
Right, the passport.
Just an oversight
Never travel.
here.
I understand how that can happen, but we also know that while it might meet Concord standards, it would not pass the ABCC, and that's and I also just appreciate the fact that we're here now, but it did take a while, and so I hope that we can move forward without these kind of hiccups. As you've seen in today, with a change of manager being discussed about the Muskegon, this is something that happens regularly, and we'd expect to be updated regularly. And we also expect that there will be the manager of record and the alternate manager on the premises.
Yeah, that's why I went ahead and nominated myself as the alternate manager, because really we won't have any kind of lapse going forward. If we need to change the manager of record, we can do that, but me being the alternate, there won't be any issue going forward. So I spend more than 40 hours a week there.
And we have all the paperwork for that. And how many restaurants now are you operating, John?
I'm sorry?
How many restaurants are you now operating?
There's 13 Camellas. Yeah.
13.
Mm-hmm. And are they all under your jurisdiction, or?
No, they're not. We have several employees in the company, over 200.
No, I understand but I mean, from a management perspective, it's hard to be in 13 places at once.
I'm not in 13 places at once.
Right.
Nope.
But I think the importance is to stress how important it is to have the full-time manager, because I gather that's been a problem, and we don't like to have that problem.
Yeah.
So that I think that sort of you're on record now that this will be taken care of and there won't be any further problems.
Correct. And we've been in town for almost 10 years now and really have had no issue. We've always had a manager record. We did have a long-time manager, leave us in May, so it's been a couple months. But again, I've been there every day. We have several managers that are serve safe, are tip certified. So anytime you walk into a Camellas, there's always someone in charge.
Mm-hmm.
But now with Ashley and certainly me, it'll be a lot more consistent.
And Ashley, were you a manager before, Ashley?
When I worked for them, yes. Mm-hmm.
2007, am I remembering sort of correctly?
That was when I started.
Ashley actually started in our West Roxbury location. She's a Latin Academy graduate and went on to college. I think Leslie Wheelock. That was in the city. So knows our systems. Knows what we expect. So.
Well, we're lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Are you ready, Madam Chair?
I'm ready.
I move to approve Elizabeth Costello as manager of record for 12 LLC doing business as Camellas located at 33 Main Street. The manager must be engaged in the actual management of the licensed premises as their main occupation and must be present on the licensed premises for not less than 30 hours per week during the hours when alcoholic beverages are sold, contingent upon ABCC approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve John Camella as alternative manager of record for 12 LLC doing business as Camellas located at 33 Main Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're glad you're in town.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. There we go.
That working?
That works, yeah.
Okay.
All right. And now we're moving on to our order of eminent domain taking for 55 Church Street. This is the space that we are looking to acquire acquire by eminent domain from the Catholic Church, located adjacent to Harvey Wheeler Center. It'll be the location of our combined social services department. It will fill a long-time goal for the town in terms of consolidating some of our services in town, and it has become a friendly eminent domain taking, I think is the appropriate term. Are we going to be joined by?
No, I think it's just us.
Just us. Okay.
Council has prepared the order of taking and a motion by the board.
Funds were approved at town meeting.
Funds were
and
appropriate.
The town meeting warrant included being able to take by eminent domain.
That's correct.
Right.
Yep. And it's a simple majority vote to take the property by eminent domain. As you mentioned, it's a friendly taking, so we had been agreed upon purchase price. There's no disagreement there, and it just clears the title.
Right. Discussion?
A vote to take property by eminent domain is valid for 30 days. You must record it within 30 days, after which time it's null and void. Our intention is not to record your vote until, for 2 weeks. The inhabitants of the church property need 2 weeks to vacate the premises. So upon their departure, I thought it was best to not own the building until they vacate the building. So we'll allow them 2 weeks to depart, and then we'll record the taking and take possession of the property.
Will the funds be held in escrow until the recording of the?
Yes.
And I assume there'll be another inspection of the property just prior to the recording.
Yes.
Yep. Out to ensure that.
The building commissioner has gone through and found, you
They met
saw
all
the
of
report,
the
it meets all the
concerns.
codes. Yeah. And we did a
And the
21E.
environmental inspection was done?
Came back with negative,
Okay.
meaning positive.
Positively negative, right. Well, it's not necessarily the way we thought we'd approach this, but it is, it allows us to move forward.
What we wanted.
Yes, we take things as we can. Any comments from the public? Okay. Do I hear a motion to
Move
close?
to acquire the property.
To close the public hearing?
No, it's not a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can close it.
Oh, sorry. I'm so stuck on public hearings.
Move to acquire the property of 55 Church Street by eminent domain pursuant to General Law, Chapter 79, for municipal purposes, and adopt an order of taking, therefore, in form and substance acceptable to the board, such acceptance being evidenced by a majority of the board's signatures thereon, and to award damages in the amount of $1,060,000 in accordance with said General Law, Chapter 79, and to authorize the town manager to take any and all actions on behalf of the town that are reasonably necessary in the judgment of the town manager to complete the taking and acquisition of the property, including without limitation, recording the order of taking, providing notice of such order of taking, offering settlement, and paying damages as required by General Law, Chapter 79.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
We're done with that.
That's been a long time
That has
doing, so
been,
congratulations
yes,
to
and,
you and your folks.
It will be a wonderful new asset for the town. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move on to our NRC Director, Delia Kay, and her several updates. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Delia K., Natural Resources Director, and the first update that I wanted to give you was the Punkatasset parking. This was out of the recommendations, one of the recommendations from the Esterick Woods Access Study Committee, and to provide a safer parking experience at Punkatasset. At the June 5th Select Board meeting, with the preferred option being to construct a 12-car parking lot at the trailhead at Punkatasset. And at that meeting, the Select Board suggested that it would be prudent to have a further analysis, a traffic analysis of parking along Monument Street itself. And so Concord Public Works has been evaluating that option. And I spoke with Rich Rain, and they have completed their traffic engineering analysis. They looked at the roadway geometry and the site distance and have determined that it would be possible to park some number of cars given the site distance and the roadway geometry. Now what they have to look at is how that relates to what the constraints are there with the existing trees, the stone wall. There are some existing utilities, utility poles, there's a gas gate, there's an electrical cabinet, there's a fire hydrant. So they're looking at whether some smaller number of cars can be accommodated on Monument Street, and they should have a report to you later this week.
Okay, and by looking at a smaller number and listing the potential impacts, they're looking at actually widening, changing the layout?
They would look at what options would have to happen. And
right.
So if you wanted to have more than, it's all going to come down to the
numbers
impacts and the cost that's
right.
associated with that. Mm-hmm. So you do have a limited shoulder width.
Mm-hmm.
You could move the stone wall. You could remove some of the trees to provide a larger number of cars. But given the constraints that are there, is there a number that is a smaller number than what is existing now that could be accommodated is really what I think they're looking to provide you that answer.
So suppose for a minute it's a smaller number than we've been talking about. Then what? We'd settle for a smaller number, or we'd investigate some limited number of parking down the access road, or?
I think that if the Select Board chose to accommodate smaller number of parking along Monument, that there's the possibility, there's the option of having a hybrid solution with doing, again, a smaller number of parking at the trailhead.
Still at the trailhead.
That seems to be the best option in terms of the impacts.
But it wouldn't mean taking a tree down, or it would be in the original kind of footprint that you showed us.
It would be in the footprint. It would be slightly modified. I think we want to wait and see what the number is.
Right.
And we would want to have that parking lot be sited so that it would be most visible from the road. Probably would mean the loss of that large
tree,
white
that
pine,
would make
which
it more
is
visible,
pretty compromised right now anyway.
Right. I think that you were guessing it was not long for
And
health.
will they also be, you talked about limited number, would they also be exploring moving the wall and creating a larger number of?
I think
what's the constraint that's operative?
What's that?
What is the constraint? You talked about trees.
I think all of those constraints are going to be
utility issues. They're all
right. The trees and the stone wall are probably going to be the most constraining, given the visual character of the roadway. Utilities can be moved. Anything comes down to a cost.
Right. So we'll also get an estimated budget.
I'm not sure if they
would not budget or general cost.
I don't know.
Okay.
So just so I understand, so the idea would be to leave the landscape pretty much as is, but seeing what you could do to regrade and move to create a limited amount of parking, so to sort of protect the visual.
Right, to keep the scenic character.
Scenic character. Well, I can certainly understand that.
With the parking availability in the winter time, when there's, say, maybe a foot of snow on the ground, be a limiting factor in the use of it during the winter, or would it be able to be plowed sufficiently that you could still do the parking, whether it's summer or winter?
Along Monument Street or at the trailhead?
Well, yeah,
both.
Monument Street.
I don't know if they're evaluating the snow removal. Certainly for the trailhead, if that's, that would be an area that could be plowed quite easily.
Yeah. The other issue, obviously, we want to make sure we're accommodating for handicap parking, so that that'll be included as well.
That has been included in the trailhead parking
Right.
option.
So it's the closest access point versus coming from Monument Road.
Right.
Yep.
So by the end of the week, is that what you said?
That's what Rich Rain told me, was that
And
you
then
should
what
have that.
happens? And then what happens?
I think at that point, the select board would need to evaluate that report and determine what the most logical option is moving forward to have parking be a hybrid, to have it be all at the trailhead.
Would NRC, though, have a point of view about it that they would share with us?
I can certainly bring it to them at their August 16th meeting to see what their thoughts are about that.
Because I know they've looked at it a lot and spent a lot of time doing it. I guess if there's a report coming from Public Works, I'd like their take on it.
Right.
And yours too.
Right.
Okay, sure.
So if just to clarify, the parking that would be looked at on the street, that would no longer be in the NRC's jurisdiction, correct?
Right, that is not in the NRC
So
jurisdiction.
we're still looking at the trailhead, and it's those, okay. Right.
But again, the NRC and DOE in particular know what the goals are we're trying to achieve there. So it's not so much just the physical location of these spots, but do you think, all things up, this is going to be a satisfactory solution to the problem we're addressing? So.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, while we're here, let's move on to the next update. Okay. Well, we've just lost Alice from our conversation, so we are fully just the three of us.
Oh, the
So,
burden.
The burden, yes.
The burden of it all.
Should we move on to the discussion of dog leash restrictions, which you have all been taking on? The NRC has
been doing a tremendous amount of work on this topic. I last updated the select board on June 19th, and that was after the May 11th public hearing on the dogs on conservation land topic. We were discussing this in response to increased complaints from some conservation land users, concerns about impacts to wildlife, recent restrictions on conservation lands in other communities, as well as the recent leash restrictions from the Esterick Wood landowners. And since my last update to the select board, the NRC has held 3 public meetings over the summer, and they were designed as working meetings to understand the issues and develop solutions to address these issues. Excuse me. Even though they were working meetings, the Commission did invite public comment at each of those meetings. They also received about 100 comment letters, individual comment letters from the public that expressed a wide range of opinions on the extent of the problem, as well as potential solutions that could be implemented. The NRC also had the animal control officer attend one of the meetings to give her perspective on what the problems were on town lands, not specifically conservation lands, but town lands. So the NRC has reviewed comments submitted by the public. They've researched how other communities are addressing this issue. And they've also begun to develop a matrix that addresses the unique conservation values of each of the conservation lands. And
roughly how many lands are we talking about?
Well, there are roughly 130 properties, but some of those are a very small, tax title parcel, and others are
constrained in other ways.
Within a larger entity like the town forest is made up of multiple parcels.
Right.
So it's not necessarily 130 discrete parcels that the NRC is going to be looking at.
Okay.
So at the last meeting on July 27th, the NRC decided to break into subgroups to evaluate 3 topics. Those 3 topics being effective control, education, and dog waste. And under effective control, the goals that the Commission was looking to accomplish or to address or to sort of get some better definition and understanding around is a clear definition of what effective control means, rules that would protect all users of conservation land, and also ways to protect unique resources of conservation lands. So that was under the effective control subgroup. Under the education, it was how to build a collaborative culture of responsible dog guardians, communicate the rules on conservation land in a better way. We have had conservation land rules, and we did hear at one of the public meetings that somebody who'd been in town for decades had no idea that dogs had to be under effective voice control. So obviously, our small little posted regulations are not effective. So that would be one of the roles of the education subgroup, as well as educating the dog owning community on impacts of dogs on conservation lands. And then the dog waste topic would be waste removal options, and also how to help farmers be successful in keeping dog waste out of farm fields. So those are the 3 topics. Given August vacation schedules, the NRC will be reconvening in September to sort of dig back into these topics with the goal of bringing a plan forward at a public hearing later this fall. They're interested in getting feedback and input from the dog-owning community, and I've put that information on our website and have also reached out to the resident who started the online petition.
Great.
And just asked if there are people who do want to provide input to contact me so that I can develop a list for the NRC to draw from. And I would say that it's clear that any solution that the NRC implements needs to have input and buy-in from the dog-owning community in order for it to be long-term and a serious, solution that works well for everybody. And it has been positive that the conversation, since it has started, seems to have had some effect on raising awareness of some of the conservation land users. We have heard that there are, people who are much more respectful of, when people pass by, they're seeing a lot more leashing up of dogs, and so that's
That's the first step towards control.
That's a positive thing. So I'd say that there has been a lot of progress, but there's still a fair amount of work that needs to be done.
Is the education component going to also focus on the people who don't have dogs, who come across dogs? Because I think that's a component as well. Sometimes people who that are not comfortable with dogs, that they can learn kind of certain techniques and a better understanding so that they don't present fear and cause a sort of escalation of issues. So I would hope that the education part of that is not only geared to the dog owners. It's anybody who's using the conservation land, really.
And so you're going to reconvene in the fall and have a public hearing, is that the right word, hearing?
Yes.
And then so sometime October-ish, you'll be in the business of trying to render a decision. Is that the approximate
That might be a little early.
timetable?
So if the commission is looking to sort of dig into this in September, I would imagine it is probably going to be a 6-week process. So I would say late October, November is feasible. I would certainly hope by the end of the year that there's something that comes forward.
And have you come down on a date for the public hearing yet?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Well, thanks for it's a complicated issue, more complicated than people think until they get into it, and people have real opinions about it. So
that's right.
So
every community we've looked at seems to. I mean, you bring up dog leashing issues, and it is a holy grail issue for a town, and everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
So you
Hearings
are,
have been pretty much standing room only.
Right.
I mean, there's been
Yes.
a lot of public interest in this issue.
There has been.
I think the petition is probably the largest petition, certainly that I've seen, from the dog owners of telling the NRC sort of, let's listen, both of us, not only have it just be a one-sided. And I think the NRC, to their credit, have heard that message.
Yes, I think they've been very open-minded to hearing all.
well, it was the start of the education process,
Right.
because, if nobody understood that there was an issue, there wouldn't be an advancement, so,
Right. Right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, speaking of dogs.
Yes, and now we're going to move on to one of the issues that this raised for the select board was the fact that, along with perhaps inadequate discussion and review of our conservation land dog relationship, the town had not taken seriously any action on creating dog parks. Some spaces in town that were specifically set aside for dog owners and dogs to come together. And I know that Chris has taken a look at this. We've discussed it in small groups. I know that I've been the recipient of many people's opinion on this, and look forward to formally opening that conversation here on the select board tonight. Chris, did you have some thoughts on that? Because I know that you'd looked into the opportunities to
Marcia Rasmussen and I have been discussing for over a year, I think, the possibility of having at least one and perhaps two small dog parks that would be fenced in. Many towns have areas like that where dog owners and dogs can get together and socialize. We have a list of 430 acres of non-conservation land that could be used for any purpose. Some of it includes the townhouse and hunt gym and things like that.
I don't think the townhouse is probably a good dog park.
But there are a fair number of parcels of various sizes where it might be possible to have a dog park. You'd want to have adequate parking and I think fence in the area so that the dogs wouldn't run out into the street if there's a street nearby. But I thought it would be a topic that would best be started with citizens because there'll be pros and cons to the location of this, like there is for a baseball field or affordable housing. There'll be strong feelings. So I drafted a charge for you to take a look at.
So we're looking at
I
forming.
understand there's a discussion with the school of consolidating the two middle schools, which might open up some land as well. So
Yeah.
that possibility in the future. That's not going to be right away.
Right.
I see our school committee representative over there, and I suspect that we'll hear more from the schools before that gets put into conversation. So we're talking about a charge for a study committee to tackle this?
So I recommended 7 citizens. It could be any number with folks with diverse backgrounds, at least 5 of which shall be dog owners. So the majority of the folks would be dog owners, but perhaps some.
Maybe we can work with Delia to think of some folks who might be interested or share some names.
I wonder, Chris, since you and Marcia probably know the non-conservation land as well as anybody, I suspect, no knowledge, that a lot of it wouldn't be suitable.
Right.
And that there would be some parcels that might be suitable. Mm-hmm. So rather than have this committee go about that business, perhaps you might delineate for the committee, here are the 8, I don't know what the number is, of properties that have these characteristics that seem suitable for a dog park.
Yeah, we could do that.
And then rather than them spend their time wandering around looking at a bunch of property.
Do you have thoughts about this, the committee's charge?
Other than what I drafted?
No, I just wanted, do you want to share the thoughts? Any
I suggested that perhaps they look for one or more, perhaps 2, perhaps one, a small park in Concord Center and a second one in West Concord to make it convenient for access. It's also been suggested that people would really miss the ability to have a a larger walking area that off-leash, where you could be off-leash, that wouldn't necessarily be fenced in. So it'd be a large parcel of land that would be committed to dogs. That wouldn't be exclusively for them, but there'd be no restrictions on the use by dogs and dog owners on a larger parcel. So that might be more of a challenge, but I think it's worth asking a group of citizens if they can identify. I don't know if I would limit it to publicly owned land. I think if there's a private property owner that might be persuaded, even if you could have a dog park on it for 5 years or 10 years, and that served a purpose, that I wouldn't rule that out necessarily.
There's an area in the Junction Village that remained open, correct? About 2 or 3 acres.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That's reserved for conservation, specifically either affordable housing or conservation, or was it open space? Conservation.
And they're granting a conservation restriction that.
And it's been determined that that's not an appropriate use for conservation land, specifically a dog park.
But I think this gets to Mike's thoughts about perhaps you're coming up with the select number of spaces that at least meet the basic criteria to start from versus 3 of us or others naming our favorite spots. And I think I think your idea that, if there's somebody or some family in the community that has thought about land that they're interested in making available, that too would be exciting.
Has your draft been posted?
I think it was posted as part of the agenda,
Yeah.
Andrew.
It's
So
in the
it's out
packet.
there. It was.
I'm just not sure that everybody
done in
had a
one
chance.
shot. So I'm sure the board welcomes comments.
We want to adopt the charge now, and then, in so doing, invite.
I think that with only 3 of us here, and given the fact that this was just publicized, maybe we should discuss it tonight and then adopt it at our next meeting. And, we would welcome any input from the community as to the committee charge or the thoughts here. I think moving this forward is in Concord's best interest.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, let's see. Public comments come right next, so I don't see why not. There's a microphone right there.
Is she going to be commenting on the charge?
Are you commenting on the charge or the idea?
Both, I think.
Okay.
My name is Judy Bernard.
You need to speak or raise the microphone.
Okay. How do I do that? This is a first for me, guys.
Okay.
My name is Judy Bernard. I am the owner of Proper Paws Dog Training here in Concord. I have over 25 years of experience training dogs in and around Concord. And I will tell you from my experience and my expertise, I don't think particularly a small dog park is the way to go. In fact, I'm an adamant advocate for steering people away from small dog parks. If you take one look at Maynard's dog park, you find a poop-filled wasteland because there are a number of issues that happen with small dog parks in particular. I won't go into the detail, but my expertise on, actually, may I? Just a few? Most people don't understand dogs, the signals dogs give off. And a lot of people believe that, well, the dogs will just work it out. And that's not the way it works. In fact, when you push a lot of dogs into a small area and you don't distinguish by size or play style or have trained professionals watching those dogs or well-educated public, and that's few and far between, what happens is those dogs get into fights. Dog parks are one of the biggest ways we spread disease, including Bordetella, Parvo, and a number of very dangerous diseases. You'll find that every vet in town will tell people with new puppies, do not bring your dogs to dog parks. Don't bring them to Emerson Field. It's not appropriate. The number of studies that I've read on dog parks indicate that as a whole, the United States is moving away from those small, contained dog parks to more open, off-leash, environmentally friendly areas where dogs and people can spread out. Clearly, yes, as we get more urbanized, there's a need for places for dogs and people to congregate. But what I'm worried about is the type of situation you're describing, small parcels of land, 1 to 2 acres, are not productive for the dogs or the people or the town. And I think what's going to happen is the towns that have leash laws near us, like Sudbury, all those people are going to be flooding over here because their ACO is cracking down on all of the open lands in Sudbury, and they have a clear leash law.
Thank you.
What is not a small park? I mean, what size is
About 15 acres. And that's, from the first dog park that was created in San Francisco, which I don't know how big that one was, but it was not a 2-acre dog park. They are now moving away from the small contained dog parks into large areas that are well landscaped, that separate dogs by size and play style, that are supervised, that are picked up by municipalities, because what happens in dog parks is people go to the dog park and they think, oh, I don't have to pick it up. It's a town-owned dog park. Somebody else is going to pick up for me.
Mm-hmm. It'd be useful to get any of your references.
I'd be happy.
In other words, the towns that have moved
those.
to other. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since we are taking public comment, are there any other thoughts from the community?
Sarah Wiener, I live at 20 Bow Street. Can you hear me? No. I haven't given this a ton of thought, but I am a dog owner, and I was very concerned about the potential of leashes being required on conservation land. So I'm glad to hear we're not moving in that direction right now, but I don't have any enthusiasm for a dog park in Concord. I find it a kind of a strange idea for a community like this that has so much open space and so much conservation land and no current leash law. It seems like the kind of solution that you'd find in a more urban environment. I certainly didn't move to this particular town and then get a dog so that I could go to a smaller enclosed space. I prefer to take a long walk and be out in nature. So I think it's kind of a strange idea. I'm also I'm curious where the idea originated, and I'm a little concerned that if a dog park were created, that somehow that would, be an argument in favor of prohibiting dogs off leash in other areas.
Just to clarify, the discussion of dog parks, while it is in parallel with some of the other conversations in town, they're separate conversations. As Chris acknowledged, he and our planning and land management director have been discussing this for a long time. So this is not, they may seem more related than they are.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Susanna Reed on Estabrook Road. This is a question almost for Delia of something she said up there for clarification, please. I believe it was stated that the animal control officer, who's actually a member of the police department and has been for quite a number of years, had offered an opinion on the leashing laws in the state of how things were with the off-leash dogs. I'm wondering if I was not at that meeting. And I'm wondering what the official police animal control person had said. She's dealing with the issues, so she would have a notion of what was going on.
She's not a member of the police department.
I believe she's employed by them as a contractor.
She's a contractor. She's not a member of the police department. Okay. And she doesn't speak officially for the Concord Police Department.
Can she speak officially as an animal control
Yes,
officer?
She can. Absolutely.
So what she offered was the person who is contracted to handle animal control issues
Correct.
for the town of Concord as well as surrounding towns. I believe she covers others.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
And her statement will be captured in the minutes from that meeting.
So you're not willing to put that up here? What her statement
I don't
is?
have her.
May I ask Delia, please, to offer that? What was said?
I don't know whether Delia has verbatim memory of this.
It was enough to make a notable comment, so I'm just curious, since it was stated as a comment, it was clearly...
I thought all she said was that the officer attended the meeting.
And offered a comment, so...
She offered a comment to my memory of concerns about both animal and owner behavior throughout Concord.
Was the meeting recorded, ma'am? I'll just simply...
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're now moving officially into public comment.
Let's see. Is this being video recorded? No. Is this meeting being video recorded?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm Tanya Galis, 62 Prescott Road. And I will write a letter about what I'm going to speak about shortly. But I wanted to make a public statement as well, and I do wish Ms. Kaufman and Mr. Eng were here, but I can't be here August 21st. So my concern has been with how you changed the charge of the Concord Housing Development Corporation. My concern at the moment is not with what the corporation did or did not do correctly or incorrectly. I know that they have promised to abide the open meeting laws from now on, and that's an improvement, although their July 11th meeting should have been postponed so that it was posted with 48 hours in advance, because I would have gone for a different reason out of curiosity about something else. My concern is that I am quite convinced that the corporation, despite being an independent entity, should have been subject to the open meeting laws all along by the state law, not because the 2006 charge version specified it, but just because of the definition of a public body, which I referred to at the last meeting that you had. The 2006 charge does not only say, does not only stipulate that they should comply with open meeting laws and public record laws and conflict of interest laws. It also says all relevant laws, state and local laws, including these three laws, which means that in 2006, when the Board of Selectmen at the time wrote up that charge, they believed that the open meeting law was one of the laws that they would, of course, comply with. And whatever simplification took place in 2009, that does not change that situation. Furthermore, on July 10th, when Mr. Eng read that 2006 charge and asked, we all agree with this, I think you all agreed with it, which means that you knew all along that they should have complied with the open meeting laws anyway all this time, no matter what charges did or did not state. Now, my discomfort is with the fact that both in your deliberations and in the way you amended the charge, you try to soften this fact. You try to give explanations. You said, it was said last time that, oh, well, if public funds had not been used, it would be a different situation. That is not true. The public body is a public body, public funds are not. Or that it would improve citizen participation. It might or it might not, and that's not a reason. The reason is that the open meeting law defines public body a certain way. So I have a lot of discomfort with the glossing over, because while perhaps if they do what they said, the CHDC will be more transparent from now on. Your glossing over the mistakes that were made creates added non-transparencies. And that can create further situations in the future where other committees might intentionally or unknowingly skirt other laws, and with the assumption or the assurance that as long as what they are doing is for the public good, somehow our select board in the end. And I think that's a mistake. And the reason I care about this issue is personal and world political one, because I'm a grandchild of genocide survivors of a genocide that is still being denied by descendants of perpetrators and by their allies, and I know that true reconciliation and harmony starts with truth-telling and acknowledging wrongs, not glossing over them. So this is an important matter for me, and I wanted to speak up about it, and I will write a letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya, and I appreciate your own personal history. We are a select board that can act now, and I think that we have done taken the actions that we can to improve transparency, improve openness in all of our actions. Any other public comments? Okie doke. Go on to committee liaison reports. I was hoping Alice would join us for this, but I think we've lost her to grandparenthood. Mike?
I have nothing.
Tom?
I went to Bruce Friedman Rail Trail. They reviewed what was going on, and they're having a focus on communication of what's going on. There's a lot in the newspaper and information. The Powder Mill Road culvert was discussed. The issue that they're kind of trying to get a handle on is the timing of different pieces that'll for the rail trail. But things are moving along in a good fashion.
Do we have a sense that the culvert will be finished in time?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody feels that that's moving quickly and efficiently, and I think the news seems to be all good news. It's just trying to understand a lot of information, or a lot of decisions haven't been finalized yet. So
Right.
They're working on some of those.
I think we're finding that with a lot of our public works projects.
Exactly.
It's hard to keep abreast of every stage.
Well, and when you're dealing with the state and you're getting state funding, different steps have to take place, and this is not a simple project. So it's a very exciting project, but it's not a simple one.
No.
And Marcia's done a fabulous job of kind of marshaling it along. So. And it's a terrific committee. They're all interested and excited about what is happening. They've got liaisons with various other committees and moving forward. So that's it.
Okay. Well, I was a liaison to the NRC, so I have been at all of the dog discussions, as I think Tom has joined me at many, and as well as several other NRC meetings. I think that those have been covered fully in the meeting, so I don't think I have much to add. I've also been at a number of the Comprehensive Long-Range Planning Committee meetings, and that's a process that's moving forward. We're still in the data gathering and outreach component. We're looking at engaging the public wherever possible in this process. I know that the Envision Concord team met with senior staff, and that was a very successful meeting from my understanding. And we'll be bringing them in front to the chairs of that committee came to the last chairs breakfast. And while August is a slow month, and we will not be having a chairs breakfast this month, I anticipate they'll be back again at the next chairs breakfast to make sure that we engage all the different committees and boards in town, because that's a huge piece of public outreach that we need to take advantage of. And I don't think we've had a meeting yet, in a select board meeting, to my knowledge, that someone didn't come up, voice an issue that needs to be addressed within the comprehensive plan. So that is moving ahead. And that's all I have for updates.
I have 3 kind of remarks to make that are not quite liaisons. All right. I wanted to update you on the educational program that we're going to be conducting for all boards and committees. I'm hoping a save the date thing gets out to all boards and committees pretty soon, September 23rd. It's kind of a reprise of what we did in 2015. I've been working with the town clerk to update the materials, so I think that's going to be good. And we have everybody in place to participate in the program. So I think that's you're going to be away, so Tom is going to act as the master of ceremonies, and we have some good participants in that. As you know, I talked about arranging a committee meeting to talk about business development in town, working with the chair of the Concord Business Partnership and Mr. Montague, who has put together a group of interested retailers. I have this committee, this ad hoc committee put together. We're going to be meeting on August 30th, just as a planning meeting. It's not much to figure out stuff, but a planning meeting to see what we might do
to stimulate,
to help stimulate the business development in town, and that's pretty good. Third, we passed the pollinator committee charge, but we have only 1 green card, so we
calling all green cards.
Fill out those green cards, boys and girls. We need neonicotinoid fans to sign up so we can get this thing moving forward.
Right.
So commercial.
Right. And since
I would also just add that Mike, you and I and Alice all attended the Hawthorne Inn.
We did.
Which was fabulous.
They did a great job.
I am very jealous.
Go by and take a look. It's really beautiful.
That's for those in the audience and on television. This was the most recent business partnership breakfast, but it was done on the road, so to speak, at the Hawthorne Inn.
They were great hosts, and as Tom said, they've just done a spectacular job of renovating the place. It's a real treasure for our town to have something like that.
Wonderful little touches, and clearly they're very excited about their role as being kind of a bread and breakfast sort of center.
Great.
Yeah.
That's exciting, and it's nice to see smaller inns cropping up.
This was great.
Right. Not quite on a liaison, but lest I forget, one conversation point that we've been having ad hoc within the select board is the waning interest in August of meetings. And I want to officially put all on record that I am strongly suspicious that there will not be a select board meeting on the 21st. Our agenda going forward for this month is very, very light, and I think everybody probably deserves some time
So we just
off.
cancel it?
I think that would be a good idea.
But you're in charge.
You know, Mr. Town Manager, would you object terribly?
Not at all.
What about Andrew? Okay, I think that we can officially cancel that meeting.
Great.
So any other miscellaneous correspondence since we drifted right in? Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you for reminding me. We have signed on, well, we've actually authored a letter specifically, and I'm going to pause for a second to pull it up so that I can be more on point, that our Director of Planning and Land Management drafted, addressing the concerns to do with our, the proposed MBTA polls. Trying to find that one, see if I can pull it up quickly. Is it in the packet? I don't think it is. No. It's, let's see. Does anybody else have it handy?
I don't.
It's addressed to Joseph Aiello, Chairman of the MBTA Fiscal and Management Control Board, and it provides some comments from this board expressing concern about the proposed Wi-Fi project, which will not benefit the MBTA's passengers and not even substantially benefit the MBTA. Most of the funding goes to the contractor.
It references the fact that it's very likely that there'd be a money-making venture for the MBTA because the poles would likely be leased out to carriers. And these are 3 poles that have been proposed for West Concord, Nishotic Road, and the third part, it would...
Arena Terrace?
Arena Terrace, right. And would be visible to all within Concord. So we are making our objections to that proposal clear. And in so doing, joining multiple towns that have objected to other poll petitions. I think Andover was the initial lead on that discussion. So, apologize for not having this at my
Great.
At my beck and call. So, have I forgotten anything else? Okay. Well, clearly I need the 21st off. On to committee nominations. We are, once again, I'm looking at the list in front of us for nominations, appointments, reappointments, and other appointments, and I am, as always, really inspired by Concord because we have such a huge base of volunteerism. It's how this town. It's really how the town is not only just is supported across the board. I think the town staff is incredible, but the committees they provide a lot of manpower that we all benefit from. So, thank you. Do I hear any nominations?
Sure. Committee nomination, Teresa Yanilovich of 44 Ripley Hill Road to the Concord Local Cultural Council for a term to expire May 31st, 2020. Okay,
all in favor? Aye.
And committee appointments, Ruth Bennett of 114 Deergrass Run, Todd Benjamin of 333 Sudbury Road, Sue Myers of 66 MacArthur Road, and Holly Darzan of 155 Eastbridge Road, all to the Affordable Housing Study Committee for a term to expire May 1st, 2018. Barbara Morris of 1975 Main Street, to the Concord Housing Development Corporation to fill an unexpired term to expire May 31st, 2019. Jerusalem Rona of 319 Commonwealth Avenue, to the Public Ceremonies and Celebrations Committee for a term to expire May 31st, 2022.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And move to reappoint Rainer Vukas of 1360 Monument Street, Walter Burge of 109 Stone Root Lane, Nancy Cronin of 216 Garfield Road, Johnson Keyes of 91 Liberty Street, John Mannheim of 5 Chestnut Street, James Phelps of 256 Hunter Ridge Road to the Tax Fairness Committee for a term to expire May 31st, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to confirm the town manager's appointment of Robert Gross of 401 Main Street and Melissa Sawfield of 7 Concord Green, number 7, to the Concord Historical Commission as associate members for a term to expire May 31st, 2018. Jean Goldsberry of 1832 Main Street, Mary Beth Parker of 51 Birch Drive, Jennifer Brooks of 31 Oxbow Road, Nora McShane of 32 Bradford Street, Lloyd Price of 152 Holdenwood Road, and Thomas McKean of 138 Nishotic Road, and Merrill Schwartz of 1471 Main Street to the Commission on Disabilities.
Now, Tom, I'm confused as to how you're becoming a
select man.
You're the select.
You're the representative.
The representative.
Yeah.
Okay.
He can do that. It's like me serving on the audit.
Right.
committee.
I just
same gig.
taken aback.
But is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And now we will officially adjourn to executive session, not to reconvene, for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining, employee contracts, and litigation. Thank you.
So you need a roll call, a motion and a roll call vote to that effect.
Move that we adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining, employee contracts, and litigation, not to return to open session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.